Great. Please rise and by the Andor Spirit for our opening hymn, Circle Round for Freedom. Welcome, welcome. I'm the Reverend J. Wolin, the settled minister here at the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota. We especially want to also welcome visitors today, both here in person as well as online on YouTube. We invite our visitors to participate in any of our events. We welcome you to find out more about Unitarian Universalism by registering on our virtual guest book, which you can find via the link on our homepage, uusrq.org. If you're in person, there's a sign-up sheet at the visitor's desk right outside the sanctuary. And if you do sign up, you will get a weekly newsletter, as well as Zoom links to some programs that will be online. As well, after the service, whether you sign up or not, we invite you for coffee and conversation after the service. So we look forward to getting to know each other. We have one special announcement. This week is Share the Plate. So 100% of whatever you give in the offering will go to this group, Food for Our Neighbors, and we have Ruth Beltran here to share about that program.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. The amazing program Food for Our Neighbors is where we get to practice what it means when we say the people save the people. This is where we collect donations. We started this program because of the amazing hardship that our immigrant neighbors right here at home are going through. They are not only under attack, but they have lost jobs. The breadwinners of the families have been detained, and there is just a great need. We have many families, mothers that have been left with children with no income in their house. However, this is where you and I come in. Through this program, we have been able to feed 100 families so far. We collect non-perishables, which I already saw many of them, and I saw the amazing pantry that you have right here at home in the church. And then we also collect donations, monetary donations, so that we can purchase the non-perishables like the fruits, the vegetables, the meats, the milk, and so on. So I want to thank you for this offering, and also a special thanks to Luis and all the volunteers that are the ones that go out and bring groceries to these families in need. I want to pass on the many blessings that they send us, because they do send us a lot of blessings. These families are very grateful for the need. And just want you to know the amazing work that this project is doing. We are actually feeding people on a daily basis, people that would otherwise be going hungry. So thank you so much for your offering. If you feel it in your heart to volunteer, please contact Luis, because you can always volunteer and you can become a part of this team, not just through donations, but you get to meet the families, you get to get the thank yous yourself. So thank you so much for the donations today. And let's continue to practice what it means when we say the people save the people. We really are saving each other through this program. Thank you so much.
I will stand.
I could just sing that all day. Our opening reading is from the book Democracy in Retrograde by Emily Amick and Sami Sage. Hope is a discipline. It's not a fuzzy feeling that a happy ending is inevitably on its way. Neither is it an emotion nor a sense of optimism. Hope is a practice that requires us to continuously choose to look within ourselves and our communities for answers, while also creating boundaries that permit us to have unspoiled moments and spaces of joy. We can reverse a hopelessness spiral through the compounding and life-affirming effects of empathy, togetherness, and community. Please join together in reading our value of justice as we light our chalice today. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and society at large.
So nice to see all of you here today. I missed you last week. So, today's story is The President of the Jungle, written by Andre Rodriguez, Larissa Ribeiro, Paula Desguardo, and Pedro Marcon, designed by Suki Boynton. So, Lion wanted a swimming pool, and because he was king of the jungle, he just rerouted the river to flow into his front yard, and now he had his pool. Well, the other animals were not happy. They missed their river. Lion had gone too far. Maybe he should not be king of the jungle. The animals grumbled, "It's ridiculous. Lion thinks only for himself. We have no water and my children are thirsty. What if we have a new leader? Let's protest." So the animals decided to hold a demonstration. They marched to Lion's swimming pool to protest, shouting, "Water is for everyone. The king needs to go." But Lion could care less what they thought. So the animals decided it was time for a new leader. And the crowd shouted, "No more kings!" And Owl wisely counseled, "Let's be a democracy. Let's hold an election." "What's an election?" asked Sloth. Well, in an election, anyone who wants to be leader can become a candidate and put together a campaign, and each animal gets to vote for the leader, and the candidate who gets the most votes becomes the president. Well, everyone liked that idea, so they drew the rules for the election. 1, we will hold an election every spring. 2, any animal can be a candidate. 3, each animal gets a vote. 4, votes are secret. 5, the candidate with the most votes wins. 6, candidates cannot trade gifts for votes. And 7, candidates cannot eat their opponents. So, Monkey, Sloth, and Snake were excited to become candidates. And Lion did not want to be left out, so he became a candidate too. "That lion has some nerve," muttered the animals. So, in their campaigns, "My beloved subjects, I descend from a long line of kings. It was my most cherished great-great-grandfather who expelled those smelly possums so the rest of us could live in peace. I provided jobs to the animals who diverted the water from the river to build my swimming pool. If something is not broken, do not fix it. For tradition, vote for Lion." So, it's time for the lion to go. The king is sneaky and is as slippery as a rotten banana peel. He said we could all swim in his pool, and now we can't. Under my leadership, everything will be different, and we will build burrows and homes for everyone. No more lives. Monkey for president. I am a popular snake. I grew up in the jungle with all of you. I've crawled through your burrows and your nests, getting to know you. We have faced the great drought together, and we have survived fires and hunters. You know I will be there for you. Vote for Snake. Well, my fellow animals, it's time to plan our future together. I want to hear from all of you. And please don't judge me by my name. I'm not lazy. I don't rush, because good government does not happen overnight. With patience, we will make the jungle better for everyone. Vote for Sloth. So each candidate got busy trying to convince the voters why they would be the best leader. They went on TV, they took selfies with voters, they handed out pamphlets and discussed the issues. They held rallies. Some said wild things about the other candidates. They put up posters and discussed more issues. They had a debate to talk about their ideas. So, Snake, said the monkey, how would you solve the bird traffic jams? Oh, that's easy, she replied. Every bird will be assigned a time to fly. And Sloth said, well, why don't we ask the birds what they think? To which Lion replied, who cares? Just tell those high flyers what to do. And sometimes they argued. Snake is venomous, said Monkey. Well, Lion is selfish, said Snake. Well, nobody is better than me, said the Lion. Hey, I didn't finish what I was saying, interjected the Sloth. Finally, election day arrived. The animals lined up to cast their secret votes in the ballot box. Owl was in charge of counting the votes. Unfortunately, Lion got disqualified for violating rule number 6. He had been given voters peanuts, so they would choose him. Peanuts. Remember that, peanuts. When the votes were added up, the new president was announced, and it was Sloth. The animals all gathered to hear Sloth's victory speech. In this election, I learned so much from everybody. We each have something to say, and we all should listen. Lion wants to be recognized for all of his work. Monkey wants us to have food and shelter. Snake and I agree we are stronger when we work together. The first thing I will do as president is create a team to help us make the jungle a great place for every animal. And that is the story how Sloth became the jungle's first president. Of course, not everyone was happy with the election results, so it was a good thing that there would be another election next year. I'm looking at all of you. And just as President Sloth said, we each have something to say and we all should listen. But what if you aren't allowed to say what you want, even if others may not like what you say? So a democracy is built by the people, and its foundation is its citizens having the right to freedom of speech, whether it's in their homes, at school, at work, on the streets protesting, or calling their elected officials. And without that, only those in power are allowed to talk and tell us what they want us to believe, whether it's true or not. So we always must fight for this freedom. Thank you. Okay, kids and young people, that's your cue. Let's go to the classroom. Thank you.
Our centering in words today from Thomas Merton, Conjectures of a Guilty Bystander. In a time of drastic change, one can be too preoccupied with what is ending or too obsessed with what seems to be beginning. In either case, one loses touch with the present and with its obscure but dynamic possibilities. What really matters is openness, readiness, attention, courage to face risks. You do not need to know precisely what is happening or exactly where it all is going. What you need to recognize are the possibilities and challenges offered by the present moment, and to embrace them with courage, faith, hope. In such an event, courage is the authentic form taken by love. As we go into a time of silence, I ask you to contemplate what this present moment is calling on from each of you. So I grew up in a very political household, not only talking politics over the dining room table and having to defend your position, but my grandparents, once they became citizens, believed it was their duty not only to vote, but to volunteer in the election process. That sense of duty was passed on to my parents and then to me. Even as a child, my parents took me to the voting booth with them every time they voted to teaching that democracy wasn't just an idea, but it was something that we practiced, a discipline. And I have never missed voting in an election. Although my candidate didn't always win, or my ideas didn't always win every political discussion I had around the dining room table, even though I thought I was right, I have always believed over the long arc of time that democracy would remain. I am not sure why I believe this. May be just a myth or a fairy tale that I grew up on. I did grow up during the turbulent 1960s, or that was when I was born, and that phrase, power to the people, was prevalent, and I believed that. I came of age during the 1970s and the President Nixon's crimes, and on the one hand, I learned very early on about the corruption in politics, but on the other hand, I also saw how people were at least partially held accountable. We are one of the longest lasting constitutional democracies in existence today. There has been throughout history numerous democracies and forms of republic that have come and gone, some lasting short times, only a few years, and others lasting hundreds of years. But today, we are seeing our government trying to tear down our democracy. I titled today's service after a book I read this summer called Democracy in Retrograde. I found it not only to be an easy read, but it caused a good amount of self-reflection and actually gave specific advice on how to work to sustain not only democracy, but ourselves as well. Our director of program, Catherine Bana, will be, who you just saw up here during the Time for All Ages, will be leading a book read and discussion of this book starting October 23rd. I encourage you all to attend. I tell you why, because I am not ready to give up on democracy. I'm not. It is yeah. It is imperfect. It is built to move slowly. It was built to protect entrenched powers. It was built, though, also to have checks and balances that, although challenged throughout our history time and again, have held time and again. But events of the past few weeks, let alone the past few months, lead me to believe that our democracy is already in danger. I talked about this last spring on a sermon on fascism, a possibility. I think that possibility is becoming more real each day. And yes, I know our government is theoretically a representative republic, but democracy is the word that we use to describe it. And I say theoretically because we have never truly been representative throughout our history. Despite our current government's desire to minimize this country's history of our treatment of indigenous peoples, enslaved Africans, other racial minorities, women, and LGBTQ individuals, we have, for the most part of our history, been ruled by wealthy white businessmen. And change has been slow, as I said, stilted. But history has shown us that over time, change can happen, sometimes incrementally and sometimes all at once. Right? Southern states seceded in the 19th century to try to maintain their system of slavery. And after the brutality of the Civil War, slavery ended, but compromises limited former slaves' rights. Nearly a century later, the civil rights movement fought again for what had been promised but not delivered. And in the midst of an economic depression in the 20th century, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, New Deal, and the continuing with slow progress over the decades, the United States has worked to improve life for the masses of people, not just the wealthy business interests of our country. Opportunities were provided in housing and education and other areas of communal life. Immigration was open more broadly, and in my lifetime, we had the civil rights movement, including expansion of voting rights. The use of the democratic process was expanding. Yet recently, and I think since around 2000 or 1990s, we have seen a retreat from this expansive view of democracy. Our most basic rights are being eroded. The Supreme Court has gutted the Voting Rights Act, opening the door for states to once again make it harder for community of colors to vote. More recently, we have seen our Fourth Amendment rights to privacy stripped away, whether through government surveillance. The Supreme Court recently just sanctioned racial bias, or the criminalization of personal health care decisions in certain states. We have seen leaders of the United States use government power to try and silence their critics. And yes, we did see, on the other hand, what public pressure could do in the case of late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel being reinstated. I did say, that's the one thing our president got me to do, something I have never done before, which was watch Jimmy Kimmel when he got reinstated. Still, there have been countless other reporters, teachers, and government workers who have lost their jobs for disagreeing with this government, with little pressure to reinstate them. Yes, there are court cases. Most of the firings have been upheld by the Supreme Court. In our own state, we have seen sidewalk art erased, all sidewalk, not just rainbow sidewalk, all sidewalk art. Downtown, I have a view of the, I forget what they call it, the arts of the boulevard. They had the beautiful streets just with all things, unicorns, fish, everything erased. I think, truthfully, most heinously, the erasure of the rainbow art outside the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, where a horrific mass shooting took place. We see leaders of the United States corrupting the independence of our Department of Justice to pursue political opponents. We have seen the President of the United States order federal troops into the streets of American cities under false pretenses of emergencies. And I am concerned about what's going to happen on the next election with that as well. We have seen the rollback of medical benefits for the poor and tax cuts for the wealthy. Knowing that the government policies are not popular, the president is personally asking states to gerrymander election districts. It's amazing that we govern by tweet or whatever they call it now, but this is what's happening. I literally could go on and on. I had to cut myself off last night when I was writing this, but I think the point is clear. Our democracy is under attack and at risk. So you may ask, why is this a religious issue that I'm hearing about it on a Sunday morning? Unitarian Universalists, from its inception, have always been at the forefront, always, of justice and democracy issues. As the value of justice that we read earlier together today included the use of the democratic process in society at large. Our fifth principle, written in 1985, used the same exact language, the use of the democratic process in society at large. Our founding principles in 1961 included the use of the democratic method in human relationships. And it goes back to the very founding of Unitarianism and Universalism in America in the early 1800s. We were at the forefront of the abolition of slavery movement. We were at the forefront of the women's suffrage movement. We were at the forefront of the public education movement. We were at the forefront of the civil rights movement, sacrificing people as well to make that happen. We were at the forefront of the marriage equality and LGBTQ rights movement. This is who we are. There will always be a tension with just how radical we should be, but still, in hindsight, we were more often than not on the correct side of history. Temperance, maybe we were on the wrong side of history. So we must continue to make history and not be pushed around by it. UU The Vote put out a statement last week, and I quote, "As a people of faith, we know that democracy is not about domination. It is about covenant, how we live together, honor each other's dignity, and shape a shared future." Now, end quote. I like that phrase, shape a shared future. Right? We do not know what the final outcome will look like, right? But we need to be part of shaping it with our values. It will not be completely 100% the way we think it should be, because it is a shared future. A shared future with people who have different views than us. And I imagine even amongst us, we have different views about different issues. But that doesn't mean we just capitulate to others because they are currently in power. We should be able to disagree on things without having to harm each other. There was a time we could come to a compromise. And it seems our society has forgotten how to be civil if we ever really knew. It's become a my way or the highway mentality. It doesn't have to be that way, though. We as a religion have always promoted the common good. Our values are centered in love. And when we are faced with an onslaught of hate and hateful rhetoric, I admit it takes all of my years of meditation to remain calm. And I try, and I'm often successful, not always, but often, because that is who we are as Unitarian Universalists. We have made covenants with ourselves, each other, and with society to think beyond just our own personal needs, but rather for the larger whole of society. James Luther Adams, a Unitarian theologian, wrote, "Human beings individually and collectively become human by making commitments, by making promises. The individual is brought out of separateness into covenant. We are responsible for individual behavior, but also for the character of society. Ultimately, the ground of faithfulness is the love that will not let us go," end quote. And we cannot let go of democracy. We are all responsible, and we must all be committed to a vision of a better, more inclusive, a more just America, where every person is inherently worthy, where every person has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. And in the spirit of that commitment, we now take up our offering to support the work that we share in building a just and loving community and helping our community where it is needed. Please be as generous as you can. For those online or here with your cell phone, there's a link in the YouTube section and a QR code. Please be as generous as you can. Let this sacred time begin. I think that's the first time the song ended before the collectors were finished collecting. That's great. So our next reading is from Michelle Obama from her final speech when she was the First Lady. You cannot take your freedoms for granted. Just like generations who have come before you, you have to do your part to preserve and to protect those freedoms. You need to be preparing yourself to add your voice to the national conversation. You need to prepare yourself to be informed and engaged as a citizen, to serve and to lead, to stand up for our proud American values and to honor them in your daily lives. And now once more, the choir. So where do we go from here? How do we keep hope alive? We must remember that despite what we hear in the news, the majority of Americans agree with our values. On issues such as gun rights, voting rights, abortion, LGBTQ rights, climate change, a large majority of Americans agree with us. We must remember that. You know, the Reproductive Justice Amendment 4, although it failed, still had 57% approval. That is a large majority. The fact that the system is rigged against change doesn't change that fact. The fact that people, maybe out of apathy or protest, didn't vote doesn't change the fact that a large majority of Floridians, let alone Americans, agree with us. Decisions are made, though, by those who show up. Elections do have consequences, and perhaps if more of us had showed up to make phone calls and canvass, or had more community conversations, it would have made a difference. But that is the past. We can only look forward and live in the presence of now. The most important thing that we must do is to not lose hope. The cure for hopelessness, according to the book, is civic engagement, and I believe that. The book proposes we can have different civic personalities. Everybody is different. You can be a leader, a giver, a connector, a creator. The book provides ideas for each of us, whether you only have a few hours a month, a few hours a week, a day, or if you want to make it your full-time job. It has suggestions about what you can do. Even if you've never done anything in relation to politics, it is never too late to start. And do not imagine that it is too big. Every little bit helps and adds up. Do not imagine you are not capable. You are certainly more than capable, and your unique gifts are needed now more than ever. We need to learn what our strengths are, and I think the book provides us with a really a good quiz about your outlook on life. And the book organizes people's outlook as pragmatist, realist, optimist, pessimist, and idealist. I think we each have some portion of that within each of us. Based on the book's criteria, though, I find that I am a pragmatic idealist. When answering the question, do I think the glass is half filled or half empty, I always answer the glass is always 100% full, just sometimes with water, some of it's air, but it's always filled with something. Sometimes hot air, but yeah, that's another story. As an idealist, I try to keep the focus on what should be versus what is. As a pragmatist, I try to see what can be done in the here and now to at least take a step towards that future reality. I choose to be hopeful. And I like the phrase they use, a discipline of hopefulness. Not a naive optimism, but a spiritual discipline, choosing to act with hope, even when helplessness maybe seem more realistic. That's why I didn't find under realism for me. I try to do something every day that provides hope. And I think about, why I go to school board meetings or, go, to the vigil at 5 o'clock every Sunday evening. I think I see Sea Alliance, Support Our Schools, have done a great job of organizing around school issues. And occasionally public outcry and sentiment actually does help win the argument. But more often than not, despite what the public demands, the school board votes against the general public interest along ideological lines. Still, as frustrating as it is important to see when I go down there to see how many people are there supporting our values. Right? It's the same with the immigration vigil. I don't necessarily think that that's going to change our country's immigration policies, but what it does change is me. Right? It reminds me that I am not alone. It reminds me that there are good people of many religions and no religion who believe the same way I do about political issues. And that provides fortitude to keep going forward. These acts of showing up are a spiritual practice that is a form of self-care as well. And the only way we will maintain our democracy is by building community, not just our own beloved community, but widening the circle to partner with other communities. This is why interfaith organizing is so important, right? Organizing not just to be welcoming the stranger or feeding the hungry or healing the sick. Those are needed, and we are doing that. But it is not enough to do just that. We must ask, why is our country inhospitable? Why is there hunger in the world when there is enough food to feed everybody? Why are people ill in the first place? These are solvable problems if we have the courage, the will, and the vision to solve them. If we have the capacity to work with others, maybe who don't agree 100% on everything we do, but there should not be a purity test when we are fighting for our democracy. It's an all hands on deck now work, right? It will include sacrifice. I personally believe at some point, I know they were talking in the forum today about what could be done. I do think at some point it's going to have to include some massive civil resistance on the citizens' parts. But we cannot let fear prevent us. We cannot let the scars of past trauma or success stop us. We must reach out to like-valued and people and religions and join together. We need to act now with others to save our democracy. Friends, democracy will not save itself if we continue down this path. It needs us, our courage, our hope, our faith, our willingness to act together and with others. May we be faithful to that call. May it be so. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit for our closing hymn, number 153, Oh, I Woke Up This Morning. Closing words are from Democracy in Retrograde. The solution to our problems is all of us, each stepping up in our own unique ways. You don't need to do everything, but we really need everyone to do something. Please join me now in extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not
the
warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you all for your presence here today. Go forth, do good, and have some joy. Thank you.